Okay, it is 7 o'clock p.m. and we're at week 4 of critical issues in criminal justice, J490, and I'm going to take this time to go over the assignments for the week and give you a few tips and fill in some information. So let's start out by sharing my screen. You're familiar with that. All the information there about APA requirements, citations and references, and then your rubrics. You have rubrics for the course project, and you also have rubrics for the written assignments and the discussion posts. But you also have a reminder at the top from the beginning that you had to do some research, not just a textbook, or you'll lose 2 points. And then make sure that all papers are in APA format, cover page, citations, and references. And then recordings. We did not do a lecture last week. Not last week, but 2 weeks ago. I had a death in the family, and so I'm back at it today. So for week 6, week 8, and week 10. So we'll have week 6, 8, and 10, 3 more after this. Of course, you can always refer to the open house recording, which I sent you the link in the email, but I also have it under recordings on the home page. So now let's take a look at the announcement that we have here for this week. This is the week 4 goals of the gangs and homicide we'll be covering. You prepare for that, read chapters 6 through 8 of Vision for Change, Crime and Justice in the 21st Century. That's our text. And then there's a section that we're going to cover on gang violence and gang questions. And some of those questions I will not go over, but you can go over yourself and it will help you because it actually comes from the readings. And then your discussion assignment, who's for stricter gun laws? I already posted a reply, and there will be a post that you can reply to as well by Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard, since you're the only one in this class. And then complete the written assignment, Criminal Justice Critical Issues Project. What you're going to do is submit your rough outline and thesis. That's going to be what you submit by Sunday. Okay, and then you don't have to complete the mid-quarter survey because you're the only person in this class, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so let's take a look at our course calendar real quick. A reminder, this is where we are right here. Here's your reading assignment, and if you clicked on it, it will elaborate and provide the details that I just gave you. Then your initial post, the live lecture, and then your reply post. And then your project that will be due so it tells you what you have to do. And I provided you with information for how to do your rough outline and thesis. So you want to submit that as well. So that's due by Saturday. Refer to the week 2 project information. Also, there's a rubric that goes with it as well that tells you specifically what we're looking for. Okay. Sometimes students don't provide the right kind of outline. And then, of course, next week we won't have a lecture. and then you'll have another written assignment for your critical issues project. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Now let's delve into this week's assignments. Again, covering the issue of stricter gun laws and the Second Amendment involved. I did a detailed lecture that was about an hour long in J490, where I broke down an interpretation of what and how the Second Amendment should be applied. And so anyway, you can take a look at that if you want, but you need to let me know. I'll have to send the link to you because you don't have access to it. But I could send you that link if you're interested. And then your rough outline. Make sure that you refer to week 2 and to prepare your outline thesis, but I also emailed you some details and information about it, and also located on the home page is information concerning that as well. So if you go to the home page, back to it, you'll see, if you scroll down to under rubrics, you'll see the course project, and it gives you each week on what the requirements are and so forth, so on. And then if you go to check your emails, you will see that I sent to you at the very beginning of the quarter rubrics and information. That was Sunday, October 1st, and it tells you about examples of thesis statement and outline. So this is these are things that you should have already. Okay. So let's go. Something that's on the course homepage. I want to. Okay, I'm trying to see what is this. Wow, this has happened again. I don't know why this keeps happening. Why does this? I keep seeing this happen on my. These are not our posts. This is. Let me take a look at this. I want to refresh this page and see what happens. I don't know how this got on here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, these are our announcements right here. I don't understand how that happened there. Anyway, that's very weird. Let me go back to course home. I don't know what this is. How this got on our page. This happened in another class. I'll have to contact personal support about this. Because these have nothing to do with, this has to do with nursing. So I have to find out what's going on with that. Okay. At any rate, let's go back to our lesson content. Again, this is Visions for Change. The assignments. and then gang violence, gang questions, and your project. I already provided you with the details on what to do on all of those. So what are we talking about? Gangs. We have a problem with gangs. I used to be a lawyer for many gangs, and gangs actually started many years ago. And many individuals, young people, started being involved in gangs. But now gangs have gone to another level. There's violence that takes place with the gangs, and the violence came about because of the fact that drugs were included, and now that led to a way to protect those parties who are selling drugs by obtaining more guns and weapons, semi-automatic and automatic weapons, and a whole cache of guns. So gangs, it says, rose out of the protection of communities. That was a long time ago. And so now gang violence, with the way it is evolved now, leads to homicides, particularly with drive-bys where innocent parties are shot. I've seen situations where gang members are trying to shoot someone and an innocent person is in the sight of what they do. So what do? They shoot that person first so that they can ultimately shoot the person they're trying to get to. And oftentimes that party is an innocent party. And then also there are stray bullets that even enter into homes where people are in their own homes and are shot because the bullets go through the glass, even through the walls, depending on the kinds of bullets they are. And it's a major problem in urban cities and now in suburban communities, and results in the deaths, a high number of deaths. You can't turn on the TV, especially in warm seasons, where the news doesn't open up with someone being shot or killed involved with the drive-by shooting. There also are instances where there are what we call initiations in the gangs, so that they will have to shoot and even sometimes rape females and produce their underwear or undergarments as proof to be admitted to the gang. So there's all kinds of problems. And as a result of all of these things, there's been a number of moves, such as increased police presence and patrolling, mandatory arrest for domestic violence shelters, and then stricter gun control. As you should be aware, stricter gun control is battling with the powerful NRA. But I have said this, and I said this in my lecture last night, that the NRA is symptomatic or a representative of the gun manufacturers who ultimately benefit from that. So it's in the best interest of the NRA, who receives some support from the manufacturers, to oppose any kind of gun control, because it cuts into the economics of gun manufacturers. And they don't really care about the lives of an individual. It's all about the profits and losses that they gain from selling their product, which are guns. It's done through gun shows. There's attacks on even background checks. The president just recently tampered with the requirement that guns not be put in the hands of individuals with mental problems to allow guns, which I thought was ridiculous. It didn't make sense. So all of these things that have been mentioned, these four, have not worked. They have not worked. And as a result, we're still trying to figure out what to do with the gangs. And so it's a real problem. Uh, and it's like, again, I think that the real issue is going to be, quite honestly, moving to eliminate guns. And then people say, well, okay, if citizens can't get guns, the criminals are going to have it. It's been like that for years and years and years. But most recently, there's been an argument that was perpetrated by the NRA on behalf of the gun manufacturers that citizens need to get guns to protect themselves, and utilizing the Second Amendment of the Constitution to argue the constitutional right of individuals as opposed to militia owning guns. So it's like this. It's like when there's a crisis, there are times when individuals or organizations or entities will use that fear that is included in those situations to make a buck, and that's where we are right now. So that's not covered in here, but that's really, when we get down to the bottom line, that's what it really is. Here's a thought that's in here. It says many gang members were abused or neglected at home, found acceptance. See, what happens is that these individuals either were single parent homes or they ran into other problems, and the gangs would offer them a little something good, maybe some money, maybe some shoes that they couldn't afford, like some Jordans or some other expensive shoes, some gold, or just like I said again, opportunity by flashing money in their faces and getting these young people to say, we appreciate you, and then also they provide protection for them. But you got to remember, when you're in one of those situations, you're in harm's way from the other side. You're in harm's way from law enforcement. So the bottom line is that you do maybe get some protection, but you're also subjecting yourself to some possibility of serious injury from the opposition. So it's a trick. It's a trick to get kids and young people to join in and to distribute drugs on their behalf, because of the fact that the younger ones don't get as serious a sentence. So what they do is they sacrifice. As soon as you disappear, they will get somebody else to take your place. And they have an ever-evolving supply that continues to allow gangs to perpetuate. It says gangs have become their families, and thus they also develop immense loyalty. I can tell you this, that when you get into a gang, if you try to get out, there is a consequence for getting out. You have to go through what they call the gauntlet. The gauntlet causes you to have severe beatings. Sometimes you don't make it through those beatings, and sometimes you make it through them, but you are so physically destroyed and mentally destroyed that you are basically dead, even though you're physically alive. So gangs don't provide a lot. The essence of the gang is violence, and they operate on tricks with young people in the community to get them to come to their side by showering them with things that their parents couldn't afford to give them. So it becomes a real problem, and as a result, they were willing to do whatever the gang calls for them to do in order to demonstrate loyalty. And that is pretty much it on gangs, other than what's in the book. I didn't want to repeat everything that was in the book. So you read the chapters, and if you have any questions, reach out to me. And Then these are questions that will help you that came from the book, but W.B. Sanders' definition of gangs for police work, and I'll just go over a few of them. Gangs came into existence in the U.S. in the early 1980s. That's not true. That's false, because gangs started in the 19th century, and you'll discover that from your readings. The typical age range for a gang member says 10 to 18, 14 to 24, 16 to 21, or 18 to 35. My recollection, because I read it before, I think it's 14 to 24. Yes. 14 to 24 youth generally begin to hang around gangs at 12, and they become what they call wannabes. At age 13 or 14, they join the gangs themselves and become, like I said, pawns for the gangs. And then if they're incarcerated, they're charged as juveniles. And the older they get, the less valuable they become to the gang. Gangs consist of all the following types of members or friends of members, except invisibles, hardcores, associates, peripherals. I might be wrong, but I'm going to say invisibles. Invisibles are not a type of gang members. Hardcore commit the crimes and defend the gang's reputation. Associates affiliate with the hardcore, but tend to come and go. That's what I was talking about earlier. And peripherals are not gang members, but they affiliate themselves, so we call them wannabes for purposes of protection. Now, this part here, there's a program called Wright, Gang Resistance Education Training, and the purpose of it is either to train law enforcement to recognize gang activity, reduce illegal guns and traffic by gangs, provide students with skills to resist gang influence, or reduce, discourage gang graffiti. I think it has to do with A. Okay, C is the correct one. I always get this one wrong. To provide students with the ability to resist. And it's a 8-lesson program in middle schools. The success of the program has caused it to grow nationally. Okay, so it's to help students. Sanders says in his reading, and I haven't read it recently, define a gang partially as a group willing to kill, claim, and defend territory. That is absolutely true. They're showing willingness to use violence to claim money, defend territory, and attack rival gangs, extort or rob money, or engage in any criminal activity associated with the group, and recognized by itself and its immediate community as a distinct, dangerous entity. And so law enforcement uses this because it fits the mode of what most gangs are. Now, let's see which one of these fit here. The broadest audience aimed at groups that pose some risk. Prevention gang, intervention, suppression, collaborative, comprehensive gangs program. So it's not that one. Broadest audience aimed at groups that pose some risk. It's the prevention gang programs. Aim to reduce gang activity. Suppression and gang programs. The next one, to address individuals or places that have some problems. Intervention gang strategies, and then of course the last one. And that's the end of that exercise. So that's pretty much it. I am going to go back to the classroom now. And it looks So if you have any questions about any assignments or anything, feel free to reach out to me. And hopefully, if you have a need for a different time for this, please let me know, and I'll work out that time. But in the meantime, I'm going to send a copy of this out to you. So I'm going to end this session.